Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, we are talking all about design for aging in place. Now, before we get into the video, I want to remind you all that we have a very active comments section and a great community here, so be sure you check out those comments down below, and I want all of you to share with me some of the best ideas or things you've incorporated into your home that have really increased its livability for you, or you've done with aging in place in mind. One of the most important things, in my opinion, when it comes to aging in place and the overall build quality and design of your home is actually all about the flooring and the flooring levels. The most important thing is actually the transition from one material to the next. Often when you're doing a renovation, you're not changing the level of the subflooring to make all of those finishes perfectly level, and that's something that can pose as a major tripping hazard and is definitely something worth taking the time to look into and to see what you can do about to get them all to be that same level. I also think it's worth looking into how your home is built or the type of foundation it has, the level it is off of the ground. This can be really important, especially for people that are in wheelchairs or have mobility issues. So looking for a home that's maybe a slab on grade or has a lot of land in front of it where you could build a ramp that's accessible is really important. If your home is built off of the ground, maybe it's built 2 or 3 feet off the ground like some homes with basements are, or in areas that get really cold are, this could be an issue and you would need to build a large ramp to accommodate that. So definitely look at the finish level of the flooring in your home, but also the height of your home off of the ground to allow access into it. I think the most important thing is that your flooring levels are all the same. I just don't like it when they're different levels, because if I can trip on it, I definitely will. And it can also have a piecemeal type of feel to the overall design and finish of the space. Having all of your floors be the same exact level really speaks to a high level of build quality, and that's really essential. You also want to be on the lookout for using the same material throughout your space, but then having overlaid transitions in doorways. That can also be a big issue. And a lot of times it's difficult to get something like a walker or a wheelchair over those smaller humps than it would be something that's a little larger. So if you don't have to have that, I definitely recommend going without it. And if you do have to have that change in level of flooring, definitely talk to your contractor or installer about ramping up to that level to make it easier to get in and out of that space. Usually you see those transitions in doorways, and that's the next thing I really want to talk about because this makes a big difference. Now, I've mentioned previously looking into the ADA regulations and codes. The ADA stands for Americans with Disability Act. However, every time I bring that up, people love to point out the fact that it's for commercial spaces, as if people with disabilities are not also disabled in private as well as public. So that's not the point. But those regulations actually are really great to consider for doorways. And typically those codes regulate having 36-inch or wider doorways. That's really great for wheelchair accessibility because doorways that are smaller than that often are more difficult to get through because, you know, you have a wheelchair, your hands are at the side on the wheels going through, and if you don't have room for them or your hands can get hit by that door frame, not comfortable, not easy to get in and out of. So if you're looking for a new home, definitely give consideration to the width of the doorways in that space to make sure you can get into them. When it comes to kind of pathways and egress in your home, you definitely want to be on the lookout for furniture placement and where you're putting things so that you have enough room to get through, but also you may even find that it's more convenient for you to have a little less room so the furniture is closer for you to put your hand on, hold on to, and stabilize yourself. So if you're not in the position where you have a wheelchair access issue, having furniture that's a little closer may actually benefit you even more. And when we talk about pathways and egress and moving throughout your home, one of the biggest tripping hazards for older people can often be rugs, and having rugs that actually lift or are really thick and people trip over them. They can be difficult to get a wheelchair on and off of, or even a walker. Actually, a walker onto a rug can be more dangerous than not having the walker at all. So you really want to be careful about the rugs you're bringing into your home and your space if you're bringing any in, and the type of flooring material you're actually choosing. Something like a solid surface, a hardwood floor, is easier for you to wheel around on, and that's great, but carpet can actually be really good if you think you may have an issue with falling because it is a padded surface. Now, there's no guarantees it's going to help you or save you from injuring yourself, but it can definitely reduce the risk of that. However, it's harder to walk through, especially if you're at that point where you maybe are shuffling your feet a little bit. You want to give real consideration to the materials you're choosing because they can have a significant impact on the accessibility of your overall home. The risk of falling on carpet is higher than falling on wood, but the risk of injuring yourself is greater falling on wood than it is on carpet, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's neither here nor there. You could really go either way with it. It's just about how your movement is and where you see it progressing in the future. Now, of course, the most ideal type of home for anyone with an accessibility issue is a single level home. And that can mean, a single family home or even a condo, an apartment that has elevator access. So I would definitely recommend being on the lookout for that. And it may make sense for you to transition into a home that has a little bit more of that accessibility in mind in terms of the number of floors there are. However, in my home, it's a 2-story house, and I have an English bulldog who has a hard time getting up and down my stairs. Of course, we all love to see a wood staircase, but it can actually get very slippery and be a major safety hazard. So in our home, to allow accessibility for our little bulldogs, we have a runner installed on our stairs. You could do full wall-to-wall carpet. That, of course, is going to work out as well, but you get the mix of aesthetics and the actual functionality with a wood staircase with a runner, which I think is really great. And if you have some silly little bulldogs like me, they're gonna love it. So let's actually get one of those baby boys in here. Cornelius! Cornelius! Oh, hi there, little mister. Hi there. You see, he's got me sitting on the floor and he's on the sofa. You're the boss. You're the boss of this family, aren't you? Oh, you're tired of me, huh? Love that for me. Yes, you need to rest. You gonna have a nap here? Or are you gonna let me film? What are you trying to tell me? Oh, you're trying to tell everybody to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like, huh? Oh, that's very cute. Oh, that's very cute. Look at this face. Oof, look at this face. Look at all of this. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We're gonna get back to the video. Okay. Now that we've had our moment of bulldog bliss, let's talk about bathrooms and showers and accessibility in those areas, because this is a major safety hazard in a home, is a bathroom, right? Because you're having a shower, you're getting wet, you have solid surface floors, it can be a major slipping hazard. So one of the best things you could put into your home is a 0 threshold shower. These are great because there's no threshold, there's no transition from the tile of the space into the shower, or you may have a transition in the tile, but it's going to be flush, which is really great because there's no risk of stepping over something, of slipping on it, and that's really wonderful. However, there is something to consider, that a lot of people like to remove their bathtubs and put an oversized shower in, which can be great for wheelchair access, or it can be great if you have to sit down in the shower and you need to have some sort of chair in there. That's all really wonderful. It is good to have a bathtub, however, because a lot of people find that if you have aching joints or arthritis, it's good to have a hot, relaxing bath. Maybe you put some bath salts in there and just feel the moment and the vibe. That's really wonderful, and you can relax beautifully. So it is worth considering whether or not it's going to be best to remove a bathtub in favor of just a shower or have a bathtub. I know my husband loves a bath, so I probably wouldn't buy a house that didn't have a bathtub, but if you're living in the house, it doesn't matter whether I would buy it or not, right? Something else to consider about shower accessibility is that often these 0 threshold showers don't have doors. I'm a person that needs to have a door on a shower. I don't like to be like in the space having the AC kick on, freezing cold. I don't like to have all of that open. I don't like the water to get out of the shower, so I want a door. But that does limit accessibility, because if you're in a wheelchair, you probably can't open and close that door as easily and getting out of there and all of this and that. So that may not be the best idea for you in your home, and it really comes down to what are your needs in that space. Although with a shower door, I guess you could just leave it open and you'd be fine. So that's also there for you. And no matter what sort of shower you have in your home, whether or not that is a 0 threshold or has a door or not, having a grab bar installed can be really great. Also, what I forgot to mention with the 0 thresholds is that not everyone can have them. Sometimes if you're in an apartment or condo, you just can't have them because of the building regulations. So you want to look into see what's possible for you. And if that isn't, look for tile that has more grout lines. I have a rug outside of my shower that I can step on and dry my feet off, and I don't have the risk of stepping onto a solid surface flooring and slipping, and it's definitely something worth considering because you want to have good traction when you're getting in and out of a shower and your feet are wet, the floor is wet. It can spell a really dangerous situation happening. Now, let's also talk about bathtubs because this can be a big issue. Like I said, a lot of people love to have bathtubs for relaxing and soothing themselves. It's really wonderful to have, but getting in and out of them is not always easy. Something like a freestanding bathtub, it can look really good, okay? They're beautiful, they're very popular at the moment, and you may find that for you personally, it's easier to get in and out of them because the edge of them is thinner, but they can also be the most dangerous, as where a garden tub or something that's built in, you actually have a ledge you could potentially sit on and turn, or you have something you could grab there. Bathtubs in general are hard to get in and out of because they're quite low to the ground. So a lot of people are actually opting for walk-in bathtubs. It's a pretty interesting design and they have really great accessibility. They are quite expensive, but that extra expense could make the difference in life and death. So it maybe is something that is worthwhile, especially if you are really concerned with aging in place and accessibility and you think you may slip or fall, or if you have slipped or fallen before and you want to enjoy baths again, that can be something great. Overall, my recommendation is to go to a store that has bathtubs on display and test them out. See if you can get up and down off of the ground out of a bathtub. See if that freestanding tub is really going to be the safest way for you to get in and out of it, because it probably isn't, or it might not be. So maybe that's not what you go for. And maybe you decide no bathtubs at all because that's going to reduce your risk the most. Definitely something worth considering in your bathroom, what you're doing in terms of the shower and bathtub, because those can be some of the most dangerous areas in a home. Let's talk about wheelchair access and the height of countertops. This is something we've often had conversations about because I've expressed that I don't love a floating countertop in bathrooms. And a lot of people say, but Garrett, it's accessible. And I say, well, depending on the height of it, it really isn't. And that does make a big difference. If you're concerned with being in a wheelchair, or if you are in a wheelchair, you definitely want to measure the height of yourself or your seat, the way you're sitting on it, your arm height while you're sitting down. So what I would recommend is you grab a chair that has an 18-inch seat height, sit down in it, measure from the ground to the top of your thigh. Put your arms out in front of you and measure from the bottom of your arms to the ground. And I'd also suggest you pull that chair up to your dining table and measure what the height is there. See if you can actually reach that. Is that height gonna work for you? Is it too high or too low? Also test that out in your kitchen with a standard cabinetry, because you will find that a 36-inch or 34-inch countertop height is probably gonna be a little bit too high for you, and maybe that dining table height is actually gonna be too low for you to use while you're standing, and you need to find a middle ground. We all are different heights and different proportions, so this is going to be different for everyone. You can kind of create a generic size like you would see in a public bathroom, and that may even be something that you're like, hey, you know, I'm gonna go somewhere and measure what they have there because that looks like it would work. That can be a good starting point for you, but you really wanna look at what those heights are for countertops. Something else worth considering is actually having a faucet move to the side of your sink instead of directly behind it, because it's closer to the edge of the countertop and easier to reach. Those are little accommodations you can make that will increase the functionality and accessibility of your bathroom and of your home. Let's talk about kitchens, because these are some of the spaces that really need to have a lot of accessibility. Otherwise, you could seriously injure yourself. Lowering your cooktop a little bit, lowering the sink means you can actually reach into them and get into those and put drawers on the sides. You know, I love drawers in a kitchen because you get the most amount of cubic square footage and you can store more things. And if you can't reach those upper cabinets, you want to have a lot of storage next to you. So you can put your pots and pans, you can put your cups and dishes there. Really, really great and super functional. Having a range that has an oven and cooktop built into it probably is not going to be the most accessible because it's designed to be that 36-inch countertop height that you might not be able to reach. So opting to break some of these appliances up can be the most beneficial, and having a built-in oven and a built-in cooktop separate. Also, I would say don't do a microwave over the vent hood because you might not be able to reach that, and it actually can be quite dangerous to reach into something that's quite high and get something hot out of it. You run the risk of spilling, and that's not a good idea. One of my favorite appliances of all time is actually the French door oven, and having these built in at a specific height can be really, really wonderful in a home, because whether you're sitting down in a wheelchair or you're standing up, you have a big oven door in front of you that makes getting into the oven quite difficult. Something a lot of people overlook, however, is actually your laundry. I have a front-loading washer and dryer, and I have them sat right on the floor because I can get down and get into them pretty easily, and I like the flat counter height surface I get, but that's not super functional for most people, so a lot of people get stands for them. I think the stands can be quite good if you are in a wheelchair because they bring them up about 2 feet, and that's really a good place for you to be able to reach in and get everything in and out of them. But if you're standing, getting into a washer and dryer, it probably needs to be 3 feet or more off the ground, so look at having a built-in base made for it to really elevate it to the exact positioning you need, so you don't have to crouch down to get anything in or out of it. It's right there in front of you. That can be something really beneficial to any and everyone's home, because none of us need to be really getting on the floor to get into the washer machine, right? I should probably look at having something like that built in my house and just foregoing the counter surface that I have, because truthfully, I really don't use the counter surface. So maybe I will look into that actually. That's a really good idea. Write that down for myself. Anyway, that can be something really functional in your home that'll allow accessibility for anyone at any age. Now, if you are renovating for aging in place in mind, be sure you check out this video right here to avoid some of these terrible interior design ideas, and I will see you over there.